Hey Beans! Today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, which is Quidd. Now, fandoms and collecting cards are two of the greatest things that anyone can do. It's so much fun, and I'm sure we've all collected, Pokemon cards or action figures or anything, but Quidd is this app where you can do all that online, and there's plenty of free stuff, and there's trading and so much cool stuff. All of your favorite shows and fandoms like Rick and Morty, Adventure Time, Bob's Burgers, and Star Trek are all on there. Even one of the greatest games ever made, Five Nights at Freddy's, is on there. And you can get super cool and rare cards from free packs that are just rolling in almost every single day, and you can buy more expensive packs with the free coins that are given to you every 3 hours. You get 4,000 coins. Not to mention, you can trade with your friends or just random people online to get all the coolest stickers and all the stickers that you want. Lots of people want lots of different things because they're into different fandoms. So someone might have something really rare from, let's say, the Five Nights at Freddy fandom, and you have something from Game of Thrones that you want to trade away for their Five Nights at Freddy item. Well, you can totally do that. Not to mention, if you collect a bunch of them, then you can send them to your friends on iMessage, and they're even ranked on how cool they are, and you can complete sets and all this awesome stuff that you can do totally online. Oh, and did I mention there are new stickers every single day? So please join Quidd and start trading with me. My username is Julian2AJ, and I look forward to seeing some of you guys on there. The link is in the top of the description and also in a comment down below if you want to go check it out for yourself. It's awesome. I can't wait to trade with some of you guys. Hey Beans! Now it's time to get started with the conspiracy. So, this conspiracy, as usual, is about the alphas and kind of what they're doing and where they're living. So, I've wondered for a long time where the alphas live, because obviously they don't spend all day sitting in the adventures just kind of like fighting phantoms. They have to go and sit somewhere, and of course they have their dens. That's where they're living. But where are their dens in relation to the world? That's a big question, because they have to be somewhere in Jamaa, right? Because they're constantly accessing the adventure base camp. Well, here's what we've determined. The first possible place that the alphas could be is Jamaa Township. Well, actually, it's kind of the only possible place. So let's go ahead and try and do some deduction here to figure out exactly where these other alphas are. So far, we have Peck's den, Greely's den, Sir Gilbert's den, and Cosmo's den. And now we have Graham's den. Now, Sir Gilbert's den has this interesting pattern that we see in a few dens. It's got a weird grass pattern and some very small waterfalls that wouldn't really show up on a map. The same is true of Cosmo and Peck's dens. The grass outside of both of their dens are very similar, so they probably live near each other. And it would make sense, and there are streams that we see in both of them running through Cosmo's den and a waterfall by Peck's den. So that pretty clearly says that the streams lead into the waterfall, and they have like the grass, and they live near each other. They're both very peaceful and nice alphas. I mean, it'd kind of be bad to have Greely as your neighbor, but to have Peck or Cosmo as your neighbor would be fine. They're chill people. We know that Greely lives in his home, probably by a volcano, but since he's always fighting the phantoms, he's probably almost never there. He likes solitude, of course, so his den is probably far away from Jamaa and almost definitely hidden because he likes to hide, of course. There's a place where you can see the Phantom Fortress and Jamaa Township in his den, so yeah, we know that he's not in Jamaa because we can literally see Jamaa Township at a very far distance, and he's in a volcano, so he's nowhere in Jamaa. There is lava in Greely's den, so he's probably somewhere in the mountains. Again, some sort of conspiracy between Mount Shavir being a volcano and Greely. I don't know what's going on there. It could just be that volcano that we see in all the adventures, but we don't know. In Peck's den, there's a rocky overlook above her den, and also a waterfall. So, her den is probably by a mountain, but below a mountain. And since Cosmo's den is close to her, they're probably both living at the edge of the mountains. And where in Jamaa do we see these mountains? Well, that's going to be in the top left unreleased land. That's got to be where they are, because nowhere else in Jamaa do we see these giant towering gray mountains and just have streams running through the middle. Greely and Sir Gilbert are farther off into these mountains because, they have to fight phantoms and kind of do important things, but I imagine a forest being near the mountains. Graham, being a monkey, probably lives in this forest. In Graham's workshop, there are places that he could easily live in, so it makes sense that he lives there. And to get into it a little bit, we've seen in Graham's new den that a lot of elements from Graham's workshop are near his den, so it makes sense that his workshop and his den would be in like the same place. It'd be kind of silly to commute to work every day if you own your own business and you're the only employee. But wait, there's more. There are trees, a forest, and caves in Graham's workshop, and these caves lead into these mountains. You go in the mountain and mine. And where do we see these giant gray mountains and these streams where you can pan for gold? Well, it's going to be right there in Graham's workshop, which has to be in that top left land because the geography is the only place that fits. So essentially, my conspiracy is that all of these alphas live within this one little place. But wait, there are a few things. First of all, Liza. We haven't covered Liza, and Greely doesn't really live with the rest of them. I don't think that he's spending any time at all in this den, and he's really spending most of his time in the Basement of Secrets. But wait! We've discovered the Basement of Secrets, so Greely and Liza need to have some sort of other place where they can be. Also, I just want to point out, for those of you who aren't convinced, notice that every single den is really titled after what the use is. Graham's Observatory is Graham's Observatory because it doesn't really look like a home, it looks more like a place for Graham to go and work. Liza's Garden is titled after Liza having a garden there, not necessarily living there, but Cosmo's Den is a house. That's where Cosmo probably lives. Greely's hideout implies that it's not actually his den, it's a hideout where he goes and hides. Sir Gilbert's palace implies that yes, he lives there, but also that he's Sir Gilbert and he's the best. So pay close attention to exactly what every single alpha's den is named, because it tells you a lot about what the actual function is, and it's the reason why I'm making separate theories for Greely and Liza here, because I really think that their dens imply that they live somewhere else, because you're not going to live in your garden normally, or you're not going to live in your hideout. That's why it's a hideout. But Graham can live in the workshop and then work in the observatory, and Cosmo can live in his den. Things like that. Let's start with Liza. Liza doesn't go out and fight phantoms. Liza is always said to have stayed behind and protected Jamal. You only see Liza in like the beginning adventures at the very start when she like teaches you how to do them. And if Liza's staying behind, Liza can't go scavenge for food. She's got to be somewhere where she can get food constantly. And pandas like the bamboo. And where's there a ton of bamboo? And maybe an abandoned little shack? That would be in Jamaa Township, right in the middle above that jammer wall central thing. That's where Liza lives, I believe. There's a little pathway leading into it. We've never figured out what's in there. We've never seen anyone come out of it. And there's this bamboo. So it makes sense that Liza would sit in the heart of Jamaa in this hidden sort of little fortress trying to defend from the phantoms. There are also two more little huts in Jamaa that we can't enter. And I assume these could be little workshops for Jamaa. For example, in one of them, that could be where they print the news. Or what could be even more intense, it could be where they keep the legends of Jamaa. I also believe this is a place where the alphas live, and that's where the adventures take place, like the rivers, mountains, caves, and forests. It just makes sense that up there is where all these adventures are going on, because the geography fits. It's this big, unexplored place where it would make sense that we can see all the alphas constantly, yet still fight phantoms, because the alphas hadn't conquered it yet. They're just residing out there while they continue to expand into that land. Thank you to Kitty Cat Morale for that theory about Liza. But now, what about Greely? Greely is a bit of an oddball, and my good conspiracy being Azabeth seems to have cracked exactly where Greely might be living. Originally, I theorized the Basement of Secrets, but we've slowly figured out that the Basement of Secrets couldn't be Greely's place. First of all, people go down there. Second of all, it's not very secret anymore. But it is isolated and far away from everyone else. But you know what else is a house and is isolated and really far from everyone else? The Beta Party. And the house in the Beta Party. Now, Julian, what the heck? How could Greely live in the house from the Beta Party? There's no evidence. Wait. There is evidence. Now, Greely probably doesn't live here because so many people go in and out, but this is a really convenient place for storage, just like the Basement of Secrets. How do we know that? The basement is clearly full of junk and is a storage area, and the house is too, because by looking through all the furniture and items there, it becomes pretty clear that there is no one living in it any longer. And it's just a place full of random items for storage that was open to the public as a party, because it's like they can reminisce about stuff and tons of memories from the beta and all that. So how do we know that these are both owned by the same person? Well, actually, if you look really closely, I don't think anyone has noticed this except Azabeth, but there are plenty of items in both places. Look at this genie lamp. You can see it in both the Basement of Secrets and the Beta Party. Look at this wolf banner. Look at this giant purple gem. Look at this beta bunny picture. Look at these random bottles. You can even the alpha stones are there. Oh my god. Okay. Since these places have some of the same items in them, they have to be connected in some way, which totally supports this theory that they're owned by the same person. So this really does seem to be Greely's sort of storage spot, where he can really just store really valuable things like alpha stones and no one will notice. He's just kind of like hiding them in plain sight, which seems like a very Greely thing to do, because he's always about like thinking one step ahead and being a sneaky little bean. But how do we know it's Greely that owns the Beta Party and not just maybe duplicates that are also protected by another alpha? Well, not only do both of the areas have a wolf banner in them, but the Beta Party has a picture of an old wolf that is probably an ancestor of Greely's. After all, Greely wasn't just created out of nowhere, he was just a regular wolf that was chosen by Mira and Zeos to be one of the alphas for his species, which means he has ancestors just like everyone else, and this old granny wolf is probably one of Greely's grandmas. Also, the random bottles that are in both areas totally have Greely written all over them. I mean, not literally, but you know what I mean. Especially since he is known to do like creepy science experiments. So, there you go. That's why I think that all these alphas live where they do. I'll give you a map that our good boy Kitty Cat Morale drew of where they think all the alphas are. Also, Beans, don't forget what I said about Quid. It really is as awesome as I say. I've been having a blast on it, and I'm sure you will too if you check it out. I know you guys are into these fandoms. I know you want this. And I really hope this conspiracy makes sense to you guys. If you have any ways to like poke holes in it, make sure you leave a comment, or if you see more evidence that supports it, go ahead and leave a comment, because it's all about figuring out what's really at the heart of Animal Jam and what they're kind of thinking when they put all this stuff together, because it's not random. So anyways, Beans, thank you so much for watching. I hope you can expand on this conspiracy as much as possible, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.
Makes me feel so proud.